Okay, hello, welcome back to, well, I guess day 4. I mean, we're really turning into like episode 4 now, right? Because it ain't been days, it has been weeks and weeks and weeks. Sorry there hasn't been anything a little sooner. Things ebb and flow with projects all the time, don't they? And some things move quickly, like tearing a bike apart, pretty straightforward to do, to what do you do after that? Maybe less so straightforward. So let's try and run down where we were before. The bike looks a little bit different to when you last saw it. That's as a result of getting stuck into something and kind of not setting all the camera stuff up, and yeah, so kind of apologies you didn't see any of that, but you probably didn't miss too much anyway, and nothing that you wouldn't maybe already know how to do. So where are we? Last time we looked at, we were still toying with the idea of using this massive thing. Look how huge that is. That is the ST4 tank, which sort of sits kind of up there in this big kind of bulbous thing. It really changes the visual weight of this and makes it a very tall bike. So it was this bit, it's why it's masked off, that we thought visually would it be nice to lose, and also this massive height, because it's a touring tank, right? So that's why it's so big. We've decided to go with a 999 tank, which is this fella. So I got one of these of a lovely chap down in South London, and that is going to give it a very, very different sort of look and feel. Sitting something like that, so much lower, a much nicer kind of sort of lean over, and we've got this lovely kind of thinner line here. And the best thing about it, I think, is that it exposes the top vertical cylinder, which, yes, I know we're going to be covering these up somehow, but I'm hoping to maybe see if we can find some really good, I don't know, perspex, so like clear cam belt covers would be really nice. It would be lovely to see all this sort of detail. I really like that sort of mechanical aspect of the Ducati, so we're going to try and leave those exposed, and of course having that higher tank does that. So that's kind of point one. the seat is, I mean, I don't want to get political or anything, but I've ordered this from an amazing place called Radical Ducati. You may well have heard of them, over in south of France. But getting it over here is proving to be a nightmare. It has been it's been well over a month. The seat was ready within, I don't know, about 6 days. And it got shipped, and then there was some issues with the paperwork, so it got sent back, and now it just seems to be going around in circles at Royce International. I don't really know what's going on, but I think it's on its way. It's just taking its sweet ass time. So that seat has got a nice little hump unit, and then probably importantly, it's got these bits that kind of curve around and down to hopefully cover this little section here really nicely, rather than a lot of the CAF Racer seats are a square cut, so we'd have to fabricate something there anyway. So that seat unit is on its way. So in order to, as we talked about before, there are kind of 3 sections, aren't there? There's the seat and the tank as a section. There is the swing arm section, and then there is the front end section. So they're all kind of interlinked, but if we wanted to crack on with this, it's going to be subframe modification, which brings on to the next part. So as much of I want to do as much of this as possible, I also need to compromise and understand what skill set I have, what I don't have, what it would take for me to get the skill set required to do the quality of workmanship that I really want on this. So a few compromises have had to have been made, and frame modification and welding is obviously well outside my skill set, having never welded before, and learning to MIG or TIG weld to that standard it just won't be possible in the time frame that I have or want to really do. So we're going to outsource the frame to an amazing guy which we went up to see yesterday, Viv Cowley of V-Moto, and we're going to do a bit of a frame cutting project. We're not 100% sure on what's going to happen yet, but it might well be as drastic as chopping there. So we will literally lose the entire back end, because with the 999 tank and the seat unit, we're going to have to raise the seat height, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 inches. So that in itself might lend to this kind of shape coming up. Yep, so we're going to probably take this line, which means that we just don't need this line, as much as I love this kind of trellis moving from front to back. So I don't know, my initial thought was to cut it here and try and keep this box section on show to kind of match the box section up here. Typically on these kind of ones, he's cut them there. So that's where we are at the moment. Not 100% sure, but we'll only know when we get the rear seat. So in order for that to happen, this frame needs to come off and obviously to be taken up to Viv. So to do that, I need to take the front end off, which I've started to do already. As you can see, I've taken the front wheel and the brakes off. It's really, really easy and straightforward. And I needed to remove the rear swing arm and obviously the suspension linkage. Now I know I didn't need to do that to take the frame off, but the engine may well be going with the frame as well. And as we said before, replacing the rear swing arm for a single-sided Monster S4 RS swing arm is probably the way that we're going to go. So it needed to come off. So it's pretty straightforward, like theoretically. You've got, this is the linkage here. So you've got a little pin bolt that runs through there that attaches the rear shock and the dog bone, and then you take take one of the circlips off here and just drift the axle, or well, not the axle, but you know what I mean, the spindle out. That don't drift out easy, or at least our one didn't. That took all of yesterday, not all of yesterday, but you know, a good while in yesterday of trying to drift that out. It took heat, took a blowtorch. It took penetrating oil. It also took degreaser on the chain side, because that was all kind of sort of mangled up and manky. And that's where we've ended. So I'm going to crack on with the rest of this today. There's not much left to do. Obviously we took the front and the rear wheel off, and the chain came off. So I'm going to finish off removing the rear suspension, finish off the front suspension, taking off the yokes and the forks, and that'll be that. So yeah, enough of me waffling on. Thanks for bearing with us. There was a lot to get through, but let's crack on and strip this down and be ready to take the frame off. All right, there we are. So forks have come off. I think a special tool is probably required to remove that without damaging it. I'm gonna have a quick look online, see if there's like a cheats way around it, but obviously it needs that to be removed to drop the bottom yoke. But we're there. Rear linkage is off. Everything's done. That's all the pile of bits down there. Suspension and swing arm and wheels, and got all the crap up there. So yeah, a little bit of tidying up needed. But I've just been sat here staring at it. Look at it, isn't it amazing? Awesome shape frame, beautiful engine. Shame it's not air cooled, but we can't have everything in life, can we? All right, onwards and upwards. See you next time, guys.